Now, ladies and gentlemen, Counter-Strike over the last few months in terms of updates has been next to non-existent. Within the last few weeks, the devs went on their annual company vacation to Hawaii, and that's been it. Nothing more, nothing less. With no puns intended, that's been the only CS2 dev movement. Though before and after their annual vacation, we did see some minor updates in between, but it was only regarding new weekly drops, semi-refresh of the armory, and the very much long overdue removal of the Shanghai Major stickers. You see, one of the biggest problems with Counter-Strike 2 is this right here. We're now officially 5 months into 2025, and I can personally count on one hand how many updates we've had in general, but also game-changing features as well. Now, the last major addition we saw was with the introduction of Premier Season 2 and Train being added back to the competitive map pool. But that was for the first time in CS history, announced just a few weeks before the actual update released and before we moved into the year 2025, which that technically means it's been since November us the players have seen any sort of major update and movement from the CS2 devs. But just because it's been quite some time doesn't mean the devs aren't cooking. At this point in time, they've had well over 5 months to really change and add some new features to CS2, and that's at least what I personally believe what the devs are exactly preparing for. Now today, we're back with yet again another CS2 news video regarding the pro scene, updates, and the community currently versus Valve with their new games and mods such as CS Legacy and CS:GO. Now we're going to discuss all that alongside a bunch more. But before we do so, I want to give a huge thank you to Skin Club for sponsoring today's video. Skin Club is a highly popular case opening platform with a massive collection of cases for you to unbox, giving a fair chance for all players. For those who are 18 years or older, elevate your gaming experience by collecting and upgrading amazing skins through a provably fair system, ensuring a fair chance whether you're unboxing by yourself, competing against other players, or battling bots. Consider the stakes and transform your unwanted baggage into something shiny. Simply select the skin, explore the upgrade options, and move the slider to your preference. Every month, Skin Club features a brand new event packed with cases, exciting giveaways, and points for participating on the platform, which can be spent on the marketplace. There are multiple different payment methods such as crypto, card, or skins. And withdrawing your winnings takes seconds. Head to your profile, select the skin you want, and you'll have it in your inventory. Don't miss out on the 7% deposit bonus. Check out the link in the description below.
Let's roll.
Now, firstly for today's video, I do quickly want to discuss the current player count and some brief pro news. So just near the end of March, Counter-Strike did what no one really thought was possible, at least for the foreseeable future. That being the player count reaching over 1.8 million concurrent players, or essentially over the limited test count just a couple of years ago back in 2023. Through the start of 2025 until now, we've grown daily in an overall player count every single day. And where we're at currently, at least as a community, is that it's not really strange anymore to see 1 to 1.5 million players online at any given time. But with that being said, that's led to quite a few players, including myself, to doubt and actually wonder if these numbers are really true. Meaning if the player count is mainly bots or real players, or maybe it's a bit of both. Now, the reason I state that is because a lot of players have been saying when they're queuing for a game, searching for any sort of match, and of course it's in a popular region at peak CS2 times, for those individuals, including myself, I do have personal experience with this, it could sometimes take 5+ minutes just to find a match in any given area. That's not good guaranteed ping, nothing. That's just a game. The long story short, if we do have nearly 2 million people online at all peak times during the week, it just shouldn't be hard to find a game with good ping that's within your area. But after research and talking to many players within the CS community, it's quite possible that with a decent chunk of the player count being bots, and for an exact number, it's really too hard to say, at least at this point in time, I believe it could be 20% and under. That seems more realistic in my eyes. Because let's just say and whip out a number, 50%. If 50% of the player base was being bots, just the thought of that statement sounds a little insane. How can half your player count, half your player base just all be fake players and just people bot farming for the armory and weekly drops? The reason at least I have a hard time believing that anyway is because it is Valve, and at the end of the day, do we really think Valve would let that fly past them? Closing that statement, if Valve did see a majority of the player base was bots, there is a decent possibility they would just keep them in the game, and there's a few reasons why. Number one, which we will cover later, bot farmers are very similar to cheaters, but of course they're not cheating, it's a little different. They're pretty much impossible to ban because those people are just going to make new accounts, new farms, and start all over again. But because of the player count increase, if it was from bots, Valve would benefit this in a couple of different ways, where it would push CS2 to the top charts on Steam for free games to play, which it has. But those new players going to the game are also going to be more incentivized to open more cases and use the community market for the first time, which Valve also makes money from that. But of course, that's just speculation. At least that's just my thinking. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this situation. What percentage of player count do you guys think are bots? Now, with still being on the topic of player count, with us reaching record high numbers each month, this could very well be a reason devs are not updating the game as frequent as they have been. Specifically, specifically meaning when CS2 first came out. Yes, they're most likely limited to how many devs want to work on CS2 at any given time, but it also just makes sense. Where if the game is continuing to peak with minimal content drops every single month, and in some scenarios, years, why would they want to change the pace? From Valve's perspective, they probably on a business standpoint want to have the player count drop, players are going to leave, and they'll bring those exact players back with something new like maps, modes, features, and just other things to add on to that. Not to mention that could also be a time to fully introduce VACnet 3, Overwatch 2, since they are both in the game, they're just needing to be fully released, and of course they are needing some final touch-ups. And the last thing I will say regarding player count, cheaters, new features being added, Valve needs to add a system to ban cheaters, but also bot farmers. Like we stated earlier, if they don't, the problem will continue and grow worse as time moves on. Because think of how bad cheaters have gotten over the last couple of years. Think of the new ways you can cheat versus 5 years ago even 2 years ago. I mean, the talk of an AI anti-cheat from Valve was never even for discussion just up until a couple years ago. So things are moving very quickly and the times are changing. So I think Valve should probably keep up with that. Now, speaking of player count, I also want to quickly run down the viewership for 2025 Counter-Strike, that being for the pro scene. Now, stats are in showing that CS2 was the most watched esport in Q1 of 2025, which is absolutely great for the community, but also pro scene, not to mention Counter-Strike in general. But after the qualifiers for the Austin Major, players have quite a few questions. Now, since we went from being the most viewed esport every single month and for part of certain years, just after the Austin Major qualifier, the viewership was down 60+% during this event. Now, the quick answer to that of why that happened was mainly because of one factor, and that was because a lot of the top teams did not attend, weren't playing, people weren't really incentivized to watch, and it's really all due to Valve's new format. And of course, the juicy part for today's video, let's cover Valve's updates and where they're at. Now, like the intro for today's video, we did briefly discuss what's been happening, but when you really put it into perspective, you're gonna see how bad the situation actually is. Long story short, we really haven't received any new content or major updates since November of 2024. And because we knew Train was coming to the game, some players might say it was the armory. And if you don't like content, what are you gonna count as something new that was added to CS2 within the last year? I just have one question for Valve. What happened? You guys were so consistent for near all of 2024 with near a major update every single month, and then it just stopped. As the updates continued every single month, they grew sloppier and sloppier with less and less content, not to mention fixes that were much needed for CS2. And then we had a blackout for quite a few months until the armory released, then Train, then Premiere Season 2, and there was nothing else. Now, my question for you guys is, do you think this will continue to grow worse heading into 2026? Because we can't keep using the excuse that devs are working on the major update all year, since we do have 2 majors a year that they somehow have to work around. Not to mention we've also had 2 majors a year for the last, I don't know how many years. So it is possible, it's just a matter of working and putting in the effort. Now, for me, in my personal opinion, for what I see happening in the near future with Counter-Strike, is we will get the Austin Major update with souvenir packages with the stickers a few weeks before the major actually debuts. Then before or after that event, we will most likely see the Premiere Season 3 introduction with real leaderboards this time, which that's a whole tangent I could go on right there. I think it's also likely to see an update for VACnet 3 and maybe some sort of talk or full introduction of Overwatch 2, not to mention the long-standing casual maps and modes to hold over the players who want something new, something more fun and innovative aside from Premiere. Now, what do you guys think? I mean, by the time the stickers are pulled from the shop, that being for the Austin Major, we'll have time, with no puns intended, to get something major to hold over players as we head into the new year. Now, everything sucks in terms of updates, and some may say even the game sucks right now, but I firmly believe we'll probably look back at this time in 5 years and probably laugh about the situation. Now, lastly for today's video is the future of the Counter-Strike franchise, that being CS Legacy and CS:GO, aka Classic Offensive. Now, CS:GO is a mod for the Source engine on CS:GO that takes what 1.6 did great and adds its own touch on CS:GO. Now, they were originally slated to have a release as a mod on Steam sometime in 2025, but 5 months in, we still don't have it. It was stated that earlier on in the year that Valve went dark on the Classic Offensive devs right around the time it was ready for release. But after community-wide backlash, most likely dozens of emails, and whatever else you can think of, Valve finally responded and stated that the devs had to fix some things in order to get the green light for them to release it on Steam. But still, as of today, we haven't heard nothing, nor have seen nothing, which just really sucks. Now, Valve is and hasn't only been not updating the game, but they're also not talking with us, the players, not to mention they're also not really communicating whatsoever with modders and creators for Counter-Strike just in general, who for some may say kind of keep this franchise alive and have been keeping it alive for the last 10 or so years. And does really talking with us, the player base, and the creators and the modders really hurt Valve? No, it doesn't cost them anything, but I think there's more to it. You see, most players, especially in Counter-Strike, think mods and remakes of old games by fans can't really touch the main audience of the main product. But in a scenario like this, with the current state of CS2, and not to mention CS Legacy and CS:GO getting millions of impressions online, the CS Legacy trailer is on track to hit 2 million views within the next month, I think Valve definitely has a motive not to really want these being released on Steam. But hey, that's just my personal opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that one day we'll finally see CS Legacy and Classic Offensive come to life with full lobbies. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you take care of yourselves. Stay positive, sexy. I'm out, guys. Peace.